So this YouTuber named Blogging Theology has a video where he discusses a study that he claims proves that atheists don't really believe in atheism. Here is him describing said study. And fair warning, this clip is on the longer side.
Researchers connected both religious folk and self-described atheists to machines that measure perspiration. And as we know, increased sweating is a sign that someone is becoming more anxious and nervous, or like here in France, you're just very, very hot because of the weather. Anyway, it's the basis for lie detector tests. The test subjects were then asked to make statements like, "I wish my parents would drown," and "I dare God to drown my parents." Religious people were more nervous and upset after uttering statements that asked God to do bad things, not surprisingly. But researchers were more interested to see how atheists responded. Now,
he takes a minute to ask his audience what they think the results of the study will be, and I'm just speeding through that because it's not really important.
The reactions among atheists differed very little from the reactions among religious people. I'll quote from the report here, and you can read it for yourself online if you go to the link. According to the skin conductance tests, that's what they call them, the atheists found asking God to harm them or others to be just as upsetting as religious folks did. I'll read that again. According to the test results, the atheists found asking God to harm them or others to be just as upsetting as the religious folks did. Isn't that amazing?
And from this he concludes,
even if one believes in atheism, one is still instinctively reacting as a theist. It's quite extraordinary.
Never mind that in order to come to that conclusion, you have to be able to meaningfully differentiate the theistic and atheistic reactions, which you just said these people couldn't. Hell, it sounds like it would be equally as valid for me to say that in reality it's the theistic that aren't being upfront about what they believe. Of course, I still couldn't really say that because you need to meaningfully define how theists and atheists would react, which you can only do through data, which, according to this, doesn't provide us any real difference. And put a pin in that because I'm going to get into that a little more in a minute. You also saying this is similar to polygraphs caught my attention because, well, polygraphs are known as pseudoscience. Adam Ruins Everything did a segment on this topic several years ago, so I'd recommend checking that out if you would like more information. Now, using it for the purpose of detecting anxiety is at least more reasonable than using it for the purpose of detecting lying. However, it still suffers from a massive problem, that being humans are complicated. I'll grant you the sweat is coming from anxiety just because, well, that's the only way this study could even theoretically be feasible. However, you assuming the anxiety is coming from them on some level believing they're requesting an actual being to do something terrible is just an assumption. How do you know it's not merely that they feel guilty about saying that in the first place? Or that they're worried somebody might overhear what they're saying and misconstrue it into what they would actually like to occur. There are tons of other possibilities that aren't properly explored in this video. And both of the ones I just gave you were literally off the top of my head. And now it's time to remove that pin, because there is one thing this guy admits the study didn't explore. I'll let him explain it.
If God were a delusion, then no one should really fear him drowning his parents any more than one would fear Santa Claus drowning his parents. Unfortunately, the authors of this study didn't ask the participants to dare a known false belief like Santa Claus or the flying spaghetti monster to do something bad to a loved one. But I think one can guess the outcome. You know, if I ask the flying spaghetti monster to harm someone, it's just going to be meaningless. It's not going to have any traction with me. I'm not going to feel secretly this is a flying spaghetti monster is going to do anything.
But by your own admission earlier in the part I sped up, you do not expect your audience to assume atheists would react the way they do. So how exactly do you know you wouldn't react that way if you were under these same conditions? The answer is simple, you don't. just like we don't know how these people would react if they were forced to do the same thing. And because that avenue was not properly explored, we can't conclude this is any different than how a person would just naturally react when requesting anybody, even a being they don't believe is real, to do something terrible to a loved one. In other words, the study is totally meaningless. Good night and good luck.